Why Mace Windu regretted creating Vaapad too powerful for Sith? It was alright until the brackets, bro. He regretted creating for Vaapad because it led so many, like every apprentice that he taught Vaapad fell to the dark side. That is why he regretted it. Let's see what he says. He made 12 minutes out of this. Like, I summed it up in half a minute, if that.
Did Mace Windu attempt to erase all traces of Vaapad? Greetings again, acolytes of the Force.
Now that is different to your topic. Did he attempt to erase all traces of Vaapad? Or Vaapad? Or Vaapad? I mean, it wasn't that predominant to begin with.
And welcome back to the archives. Form 7 Vaapad is the most fascinating form out of all of the ways of lightsaber combat. More than any other style, much discussion surrounds it and its practitioner Mace Windu. Vaapad was meant to be the mender of the problems of Juyo brought to the Jedi Order, which was its tendency to lead to the dark side and aggression. But instead, Vaapad proved to be just as perilous, as it passes right underneath the shadow of the darkness, which...
I'm having a moment. Juyo, which one was that? Form 7. Yep. That's right. Form 7, I do remember, is the one that the Jedi did shun because of its propensity for going towards other things.
For some Jedi, is enough to cause them to fall outright. Yep. Mace Windu, being the creator of the form, was aware of its risks from the very beginning, yet he hadn't predicted the horrific outcome that the form would have on 3 specific members of the Jedi Order. Windu's colleagues.
3 specific members? What about the Jedi Order as a whole?
Sora Bulk, Windu's own Padawan, Depa Billaba, and even Quinlan Vos. After the fall of the Jedi Order, very few traces of information relating to Vaapad remain, and even less about how one actually uses it. It comes to our belief here at the archives that after Quinlan Vos, Mace Windu may have tried to destroy his own lightsaber form so that no one would ever attempt to wield it again. So today, join us for yet another discussion about Form 7 and what we think Windu may have done with it.
I'm trying to recall a little bit of how Quinlan Vos is related to Vaapad. And maybe sort of. It's that sort of flirting with the dark side. Whatever this image is. But that flirting with the dark side that the Jedi do, that can lead them to the dark side easily. That is the same sort of thing that Vaapad does to them.
Form 7 was traditionally called Juya, the ferocity form. It was an offensively focused form only to be used in saber-to-saber combat that has been seen in use as early as the Great Galactic War of the Old Republic era. Originally, Form 7 was used by the Jedi, and it was all about allowing the excitement of battle and the thrill of a prospective victory to guide one's hand in combat. Allowing emotions in their movements, the Juya practitioners would maintain an outwardly calm appearance, but have an emotional pressure on the inside of them, verging on an explosion. However, this clearly violates the first tenet of the Jedi Code, and it became a restricted art to only be used with those from approval from the High Council.
So he doesn't seem to mention it here, but there is no emotion, there is peace. And it probably would be part of the flaws of the prequel Jedi Order, because it's the whole thing of like, they don't really teach people how to reconcile their emotions with what the Jedi ask of them and what would benefit the greater whole.
It was so popular amongst the Sith though, and even Darth Sidious considered it to be exclusively a Sith lightsaber form. But many years later, Windu would become fascinated with Form 7 after he discovered that there was a certain darkness within himself. one that he was struggling to control. He decided to take the idea of excitement in a battle and joy of victory from Juya and create something different. Using these emotions, he would make himself receptive to the dark side of his opponent, becoming one half of a superconductive loop to reflect said darkness back onto the enemy, thereby turning their own strength
This fan art, bro. What is with his eyes?
against them. In this way, Mace Windu was using darkness to defeat itself, while he still remained a weapon of the Jedi. To do this, though, required one constant, strong flow in the Force within their bodies. Windu went further than this, deciding to come up with a new system of movements for Vaapad. For this, he observed the creature after which the form was named. A Vaapad was a predatory creature that attacks its opponent with its many tentacles. Some Vaapad were said to have 7 tentacles, but others have been recorded as having up to 23. They would launch themselves at their opponents and whip their tentacles around so fast that it was impossible to tell exactly where they were. It was a common observation that one could make only to count the tentacles of a Vaapad once they were dead, drawing a...
Yeah, a lot of this is actually it. When I'm looking at the comments right now, it's like, what if I swing harder? True. The prequel Jedi are going to be mentally unstable more likely than the earlier Jedi, for sure. And I think it just accentuates the flaws in them. And I feel like that's what George was going for with the prequel trilogy, is that a lot of the examples of Jedi shown were examples of showing the flaws in the Jedi Order. And that's why it needed to change, a la Luke's new Jedi Order after Return of the Jedi.
On this inspiration, Mace Windu took the seemingly unconnected and unpredictable movements of Juya and connected them in such a way that when Mace Windu fought, he did so at such speed that it seems as though he was attacking with 7 lightsabers at once. When watching Mace Windu fight against Palpatine,
It's oddly specific that it's 7 lightsabers. It's not 8. It's not 6. It's 7.
Anakin described seeing Windu's lightsaber as, quote, an oblate sphere of purple fire which contained dozens of blades attacking from every angle. The
Dozens is not 7, bro.
most important thing to remember about Vaapad, though, is how it relates to Mace Windu. In his message to Ki-Adi-Mundi and Egan Kolar, which has now been recorded in the Great Jedi Holocron, Windu explains...
Agan? I pronounce it Arjun. I think it sounds better as Arjun Kolar. At least pronouncing it inside of English sentences.
that Vaapad is very personal to him. He developed it as an answer to his own dark side, which he considered to be his ultimate weakness. He desired to channel this darkness into a weapon for the Jedi, thereby not only defeating, but insulting the dark side within himself. While he succeeded in doing this, he utterly failed in one other aspect, doing so and replicating it in other Jedi.
Yeah, well, I feel like it was such a specific solution to him that it didn't work for anyone else. Like pictured here, Depa Balaba. It doesn't work for anyone else. It was such a solution specific to him and how he faces darkness. And none of the people he taught Vaapad actually had the same sort of mindset he did, or reached the same place he did.
Windu would collaborate with one of the Jedi Order's Blade Masters in the Jedi Master Sora Bulk in order to perfect the form. Sora Bulk was a skilled practitioner in all 7 forms of lightsaber combat, being one of the few allowed to study Form 7. Sora Bulk had even trained the current Jedi Battle Master in Sin Rallig. And while Windu was the founder and developer of Form 7, the variant Vaapad, he used Sora Bulk's help with the creation of the sequences. Unfortunately though, the shadow of the dark side would fall into the darkness that consumed Vaapad, and it would claim its very first victim. Unbeknownst to Windu, Sora became fascinated with the dark side after working on Vaapad. He would switch his chosen lightsaber form to be exclusively Form 7 in combat, and began studying the dark side in secret to perfect the form. Sora Bulk had fallen and still maintained a facade of being a noble Jedi Master. When Quinlan Vos had lost all of his memories of being a Jedi, it would be Sora Bulk who would help him regain it and train him.
Rest in peace, Oppo Rancisis. Rest in peace.
Sora Bulk who would help him regain it and train him in lightsaber combat again. During these sessions, Sora Bulk would actually teach Quinlan some of the Vaapad maneuvers, but he didn't actually tell him how to use the form. Mace Windu would discover this truth after having a practice duel with Quinlan, and he was furious. During this sparring session, Windu encouraged Quinlan not to hold back and put everything he had into himself. As Windu wanted to test the Jedi Master, Quinlan took this as approval of using Vaapad and attacked Windu with a Vaapad sequence, allowing his passion to explode within him as he lunged towards Windu. Shocked, Mace immediately blocked the strike before using the Force to throw Quinlan to the ground.
It's Stupendous Wave. And it's what my... Oops. What? Okay. It's what my layperson lock-on has added on to send me to discuss stuff. Certain topics. I mean, obviously very clickbaity, but a lot of this I'm staying silent for because I feel like it lines up relatively well for this one. Oh, the next one will be interesting. But yeah, I don't mind looking at Star Wars Explained videos. I do get that it says Star Wars Explained at the start, so yeah. Google Translate is required. Hang on. Ha 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 ha. No, you didn't translate it properly. It has the A at the start of it. Look at it. Ah! Ha 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 ha. Alright, let's continue.
Ending the duel immediately. Mace then demanded to know where Quinlan learned that sequence and that move, to which Vos revealed that it had been Sora Bulk, but he knew nothing of Vaapad. Mace Windu sensed that Quinlan was telling the truth, but warned him to never use that ever again in a duel, despite Quinlan professing that this was the only thing that Sora Bulk ever taught him. Mace Windu suspected...
This is a very big point for Quinlan Vos in that Mace Windu knew that Quinlan Vos would fall to the dark side if he properly studied Vaapad. And so... yeah, this is what I mean. It's like, I don't watch lore videos because I just read it for myself. And so if I get sent lore videos or added to this playlist that I can send the link to collaborate on YouTube and whatever to discuss it, I'm very happy to. But I don't do lore videos because I feel like everyone can just read it for themselves and learn about it. But yeah, it's very much a big thing with Quinlan Vos's life of Mace Windu knew that if he was taught Vaapad properly, that he would fall to the dark side like everyone else that he taught Vaapad. I am annoyed that this is the primary way people ingest Star Wars information. Like, read the damn stuff yourself. The comics especially, which this is mostly based off of, are very quick reads. The Republic series is great.
That Quinlan Vos was lying and that he knew far more about Vaapad than he was revealing, making him extremely dangerous. Windu would then go to confront Sora Bulk about the issue, but by this point in the Clone Wars, Sora had completely left the Jedi Order. He no longer believed in the Jedi.
Bro, his lightsaber is so short here. I forgot about that.
And had joined with Dooku. Windu would soon discover the Jedi Master's fall, and once the two engaged in a...
It's the primary way people get any information. Oh. I mean, I guess I kind of get it. But I feel like those people wouldn't have the understanding that this is all second-hand information or first-hand information. And so it is filtered through the interpretation of whoever is saying it. So you should read the source material.
Duel. Sora Bulk proclaimed that he was the master of Vaapad, and Mace Windu was the student. Windu, though, refuted this, and said that Vaapad had mastered him. Eventually, Windu would defeat Sora Bulk in lightsaber combat with relative ease, as Sora Bulk crawled back to Dooku, becoming one of the leaders of his dark acolytes. Later in the war, after Quinlan Vos was captured, it would be Sora Bulk who convinced Quinlan to use Vaapad. And
no mention of Master Thorm here. I think it's Thorm. Like, you're showing a panel with him. Yeah, Tholme. What the heck? He has a cannon tab? With some random ass... Hang on, I have to show this. He has a cannon tab with this random ass picture. What the heck? How? How does he only have this picture? And yet, he looks so cool in the Republic comics, and you don't even leave the picture from them. I guess with new canon, it doesn't have much, but... Why did you pick that picture? Oh my goodness, it's just... Yeah, canon is such cringe. Alright. Continuing.
Quinlan Vos would even use Vaapad for some time in service of the dark side, before later killing Sora Bulk in a climactic duel. While this was occurring, Vaapad would claim another Jedi.
Oh, I never look at a new canon tab that long.
Windu's own Padawan. Windu had taught Depa Billaba about the form, as she would practice it dutifully. Depa Billaba showed no signs of turning to the dark side though, and after she became a Jedi Master, Windu once observed Depa using Vaapad on a single mission to near perfection. He was so impressed with her blade work that he proclaimed that her blade work was even better than his.
The blade work, note, not the way that she channeled the Force with her blade work, but the blade work itself.
Unfortunately though, that power would be turned against Windu on Horan Kal, when
this... Oh, let him finish.
Depa would indeed fall to the dark side due to the planet's force-rich jungle and horrors of the Clone War. Depa nearly killed Windu in the duel. However, Mace Windu was still able to overcome Depa and talk her back to her senses.
This is where I feel like Mace Windu would have turned to the dark side after Revenge of the Sith if, in the slight possibility, he defeated Sidious. Of like, the Vaapad would have turned him so much to the dark side that he wouldn't have been able to save himself. The other day, make a copy display. Yeah, I think somewhere's doing a marathon, including the so-called sequel trilogy, which doesn't include the sequel trilogies from the EU, but no one would read the words on the screen. It would take way too long to read the sequel books. But yeah. There's so many sequels in Star Wars. Did you know? Let me have a little quick squeeze while I'm thinking of that. Because why not? So trilogies. Okay, trilogies after a certain point will be the sequel trilogy, right? So we have the Thrawn trilogy, the Dark Empire trilogy, we have the Crimson Empire trilogy, we have the we have the Jedi Academy trilogy, we have the Calista trilogy, we have the Black Fleet Crisis trilogy, we have the Corellian trilogy, we have the Darkness Crisis trilogy, however much you think of that. We have the Rogue Squadron game trilogy. We have the Force Heretic trilogy, which is inside New Jedi Order. And we have Miniatures Ultimate Missions as a trilogy. And we have Lego Star Wars as a trilogy. 1, 2, 3. All of them numbered in trilogies. Unofficial trilogies are, there's a Clone Wars trilogy. So there's TCW 2008 movie, No Prisoners, and Wild Space. So that's the novel of the Clone Wars movie. We have KOTOR and SWOTOR. So of KOTOR 1, KOTOR 2, and Star Wars The Old Republic, which is what we would get from a KOTOR 3 with the Jedi Knight story. And that is what we have officially released. I have an old note that I referred to there in my phone. So, sequel trilogies in the Star Wars universe. And who knows, I might discover something more later on. If you would call it that, there's probably trilogies of short stories. But I only mentioned the 3-part series that were past Return of the Jedi. So there's a trilogy. I mean, I guess that's unofficial as well. I did mention it, but I guess that's unofficial as well because they're not an officially named trilogy. It's a trilogy. Like, it's all but name, from what I know. Let's continue.
Fortunately, though, Depa was in such a state of despair that she attempted to kill herself before falling into a deep coma, and in Legends, she would never awake from it.
Actually, that is incorrect. I believe someone mentioned in the Revenge of the Sith novel, she is mentioned as possibly just awakening. I'd have to reread it to know for sure. But this fan art blooming again that they use in that. Like, what the heck is this hand, bro? But, yeah. I feel like Depa's coma. Someone mentioned that there was a mention that she had woken up from her coma in the Revenge of the Sith book or somewhere. But it has been so long since I've read it that I don't remember properly. It was in a recent RPG session that we discussed stuff after and before the stream. Oh yeah, so this guy does just go off Wikipedia. As far as I know, actually, it seems like some of his more recent stuff does go a little bit more in depth. It does seem to give a bit more information than Wikipedia. But if it doesn't mention in Wikipedia, I don't know if Stupendous Wave picks up on it. That's the thing. And there may be a bit of a connotation and suggestion, but not an outright yes, that is. And that may be what was talked about.
Danger when using Vaapad was now clear. Harnessing the dark side becomes an almost unstoppable form. At first we believed that if one fueled Vaapad with the dark side, it essentially became Juya, but we were wrong.
I mean, it's fine. Yeah. I could be wrong. It's been so many years since I read it. Let me look at Depa Billaba just quickly. It is very much a thing here. Appearances. Oh, look. Revenge of the Sith novelization mentioned only in Wikipedia. I'll make this bigger for you if you need to read it. Even in the unabridged audiobook mentioned only. I mean, yeah, of course, unabridged. That's on the Wikipedia page for Depa Billaba. So she's mentioned, I forget if there's an exact thing for that, but that's quite possibly where who I was talking to took it from.
And it is much worse than that.
Oh,
Earlier, we
best Mace
described how
Windu
Vaapad does
scene.
indeed have different blade movements than Juyo, movements inspired by the Vaapad creatures. While fighting General Grievous, Mace Windu observed how Grievous began to mimic Vaapad and Mace Windu's movements, creating a facsimile of the form. After seeing this, Windu immediately broke off contact with the General, not wanting Grievous to fully figure out how to use Vaapad against Jedi. Juyo
I don't know if it was that. Yeah. I mean, it could have been a mention that was not very conclusive of Depa Billaba. And that's why they left it unknown. But the summaries don't do it justice in my mind. True, they should have popped her in Mindor. But Mace didn't have time to even interact with Grievous because it was at that point where Grievous was trying to escape anyway. And then he crossed his chest.
Contact with the General, not wanting Grievous
That I
to
remember.
fully figure out how to use Vaapad against Jedi. Juyo
Grievous was already doing a lot with his lightsabers. Just give him another set of arms, bro.
movements were indeed sharp and chaotic, appearing as though they are sloppy, unconnected strikes, when in reality, they are connected and unpredictable as a result. But Vaapad takes that idea to a new level with its insanely fast strikes that makes it seem as though one is wielding 7 lightsabers.
Just do it faster, bro.
This is given further power when the user redirects their opponent's dark side back against them. Imagine this being used to fuel someone's own dark side into an endless loop of suffering. Not only would it be terrifyingly effective, but it's a complete perversion of what Vaapad was meant to be. Windu knew that if such a thing were ever to be used against a Jedi, they would certainly be killed. He watched as 3 of the Jedi fell to the dark side of this form within their hand, and all 3 of them became a scourge. We believe that following this, the situation with Grievous attempted Mace Windu to try to destroy Vaapad. Once Depa was in a coma, Quinlan was turned back to the light, and Sora Bulk was dead. Mace Windu allowed mentions of the form, and the principles behind it to be placed in the Great Holocron.
Like, Windu could really allow mentions of the form. Like, come on, people would have known about Vaapad. Like, people would have talked about it.
However, beyond that, he refused to train anyone else in the form or discuss the specific details of it.
This is because every person he actually taught about Vaapad turned to the dark side. And he didn't want more people to turn to the dark side.
It has never revealed the training regimen for learning the moves of Vaapad, like there were all of the other 7 lightsaber combat forms. Windu had all of that knowledge locked away in his own mind, and decided to have Vaapad die with him. Knowledge of Vaapad would survive through Windu's death though, and prosper through Luke Skywalker's own Jedi Order into the Legacy era. However, very few practitioners of Vaapad existed after Windu.
Bro, what is with this short-ass lightsaber?
There are some speculations that Luke Skywalker knew and used Vaapad, but that is very shaky at best. And if he did, then it's likely that he understood and could employ the principle of reflecting the dark side, but didn't know the actual blade movements, as they had gone extinct with their creator, who...
I mean, if you find records of this sort of feedback loop stuff, I cannot verify any of this information that Luke knew about the feedback loop stuff and so used it. But it's like, sure, if they knew about it, they would have used it, of course. But the actual lightsaber movements, someone just could have made it up. Interesting. Real sword fighting doesn't work like that? Well, it is a fictional universe. I do feel like you would never be restricted to one form anyway. Like you, as is shown with Anakin and Obi-Wan, you always mix lightsaber forms and movements. Those are just general movements taught to Padawans and apprentices. Vaapad being a bit different because it was Windu taught it to the two people that he knew and then turned the dark side and he didn't teach anyone else. So it's really just muscle movements, lightsaber combat, and philosophies towards combat will be the base goal of that. But if you're talking about philosophies about combat, you could achieve a completely different looking form of combat than what are the official lightsaber combat forms.
Who purposefully never recorded them. And so, in this way, the perfect lightsaber form of Vaapad was erased upon Mace Windu's passing. And that is why Darksiders using Vaapad would have made the most dangerous lightsaber duelists in the entire galaxy, and would...
Doubt. Vaapad was made to counter Dark Force users. So, a Dark Force user would not be able to create their own feedback loop. As far as I understand, the way that Vaapad would have been able to reach its peak is reflecting the dark side off of fighting a dark side Force user.
Have turned countless more Jedi to the dark side. It is truly tragic that a form that is meant to heal the dangers of Form 7 ended up becoming more dangerous than even it was.
I mean, that's true. That's why the Jedi banned Form 7 at the start. You know, maybe they had merit to not teaching Padawans Form 7. You ever think about that? Huh? And I feel like that could have been something explored in SWTOR, but isn't. Is that Form 7 being taught was dangerous because it sent Padawans to the dark side. And so over time, there was like the start of it in SWTOR to be able to go into banning that form and stopping as many Padawans going to the dark side. Especially if it's like, okay, I'm going to play a dark side Jedi Knight or Jedi Consular story.
Form meant to heal, only destroyed. Windu was the only one able to master it because he was the one that had the heart behind it. His own heart. He said the form was personal because he created it out of a desire to keep his own dark side from consuming him, and instead of turning it into a weapon for the Jedi. Anyone who doesn't understand this fundamental heart can never master Vaapad without it mastering them.
And that's the thing of like, that's why I said it's such a personal solution. And it's so specific that it doesn't work for other people.
What do you think, my friends? Do you think that Mace Windu should have given it more of a chance? Or do you think that Vaapad was just too dangerous to be used by the Clone Wars Jedi? Was Windu wise to never record it, and essentially ensure that the form would die with him? Please let us know your thoughts and opinions on this in the comments down below. And if you've enjoyed this video on Vaapad, are there other aspects of lightsaber combat and of the forms that you would like to see us explore? As always, my friends, thank you so much for visiting the channel and the archives today, and may the Force be with you.
So I don't particularly care if they did more. Let's be honest. As I said, read the stuff yourself. But what did he ask specifically?
Forms that you would like to see us explore, that the form would die with him.
The whole thing about the form dying with him, I feel like that's such a specific thing that makes sense because it is a specific solution to his darkness and a solution he came up with to channel his particular weakness. And to make his weakness a strength, that it didn't work for anyone else. not properly. Especially given his particular situation. He developed it when he was older, if I remember correctly. And he's trying to teach it to people younger than him, also a bulk, who has different experiences to him and has a different mindset, a different temperament, a different nature. Those were probably what, like, he was going, okay, if I teach it to these people, how does it work? And so you end up with him not teaching others because he knows that the two he did were failures, you know?